Yes.
Yes, so many people do not know what I'm about to say, but I'm going to speak my own truth. And the Senate President is allowed to counter that. It all started on the 8th of December, 2023, which was a day before his birthday and my birthday. We are birthday mates. We were all in Akwa Ibom because he had a big fanfare in the stadium. Myself, my husband, and a few of his close friends, we went to Akwa Ibom. And at first, we were at Ikot Ekpene. We were in his house in Ikot Ekpene. Then we all moved to his house in Uyo, which was about 8 p.m. And he held my hand and said he wanted to show me around his house. My husband was walking behind us, just three of us. We're walking around from room to room. He showed me the beautiful interior. This was done by this, by that, this designer here, he bought this from us. Like, oh, it's beautiful. And then I noticed that he hastened his pace while still holding my hand. And my husband was behind, still on his phone, but he was catching up whenever he could. And then he got to this particular sitting room, and he said, "Do you like my house?" I said, "Of course, sir. Every room, beautiful, nice interior, quality taste." He said, "Now that you're a senator, I'm going to create a time for us to come spend quality moments here. You will enjoy it." At that point, I just pulled away, and I was like, I don't really understand what exactly that meant. But then my husband now, when I turned around, I saw my husband was already near me. And the way my husband looked at me and looked at him, I was beginning to wonder, did he hear part of that inciting statements or not? And then the Senate President, too, I saw that he also had that thought, like, did my husband hear the invitation to treat or not? So then the Senate President now said, "Oh, by the way, let me show you my chapel." He has a chapel in his house as well. So while we were going to the chapel, we walked in silence and all. So that evening, before we left the Senate President's house at about 11 midnight to the 4 points in Ikot Ekpene. And my husband asked me, "Natasha, what did the Senate President whisper to you? What's he telling you?" I thought, should I tell him that he was speaking about bringing me in here at a special time for us to have a good time? Or should I just kill it there, wrap it as if there was nothing? Because tomorrow was a big day. I know how much my husband adores the Senate President. He loves him as a brother. My husband would do anything to support him. So I told my husband, nothing. I can't remember what I created, but I just gave him some words to manage, to mask what was said. When we laid in bed, I looked to my right, and my husband wrapped his arms around me, and he said, "My love, you can't tell me anything. What did the Senate President tell you?" Again, I was like, "Don't you believe me?" I said, "Nothing. Nothing. Moreover, it's my birthday in a few minutes. Let's just be happy." Then my husband told me he doesn't want to see me travel out of the country alone, and I should not go to the Senate President's house because he has a guest house where many senators do go there, after office to get approvals and all that. So I told him, okay, no problems. That was it. I thought that was going to be the end. But then, night, or should I say that morning, early hours of the morning that he apologized, which was 23rd of July, 2024. That was the morning he apologized. So the night I have it printed here. I have the screenshots of the phone call. It was 14 minutes past midnight when my phone rang. The leader of the House called me, Senator Michael Bamidele Okpeyemi called me, and he said, "Senator, how are you?" I said, "I'm fine." He said, "In the wake of all of this rancor, if the Senate President goes down, I will go down too." And I said, "What do you mean, sir?" At that point, I woke my husband up because he had fallen asleep before me. I said, "Are you calling me to threaten me?" I could hear murmurs from the Senate President. I could hear the Senate President's voice at the background because I could tell it was on speakerphone. He said, "No, I'm just telling you that, there's a whole lot of attack on the Senate President. And if things go down, if he resigns or something happens, I should know that I'm going to be held responsible and I also go down." At that point, I started shouting. I was like, "You can't call me at midnight and threaten me, sir. You can't do this." And mind you, I was actually surprised because The leader of the House is someone I respect greatly. He's a very good friend. He's a very calm person. And I believe, I'm saying it, that if he actually made those, as he made those statements, he probably was told to do so. So I dropped the line. And then I dropped the line. The first conversation was just 2 minutes, 33 seconds. Then my phone rang again at 26 minutes past midnight that same day. And then it was the same call, Senator Akpabio's line, but then it was the Senate President's voice. He said, Princess of the Senate. That's how he calls me casually. You know, I've been attacked. My wife has not slept for days. She's been crying. She's received lots of insults, all because of you. I said, no, sir, it's not because of me. It's because of you. I didn't force you to order that statement. And I did not call on the support I received from Nigerian women. So don't blame it on me. Say, no, he's telling me this because the Dane of Agbo, I think he's a king in Agbo in Delta State. So the Dane of Agbo spoke with him and told him that he, that's the Senate President, was the most hated politician in Nigeria at that point. Mind you, that was a few days to the protest. There was this end bad governance protest on the 1st of August, and this incident happened like a week before. So he said the Dane of Agbo told him, Mr. Senate President, you know your rating is all low. You're one of the worst. You're one of the most hated politicians now. So I would advise. He said the Dane of Agbo advised the Senate President to leave Abuja because if he is caught in the middle of the protest, he could be attacked. I said, so why are you telling me this, sir? He said he's telling me because he found it insulting that the Dane of Agbo would tell him to leave, to run away, to leave Abuja, and that he's telling me. So Natasha, I'm telling you, go and tell them that if anybody over the age of 20 approaches me during the protest, I will get, what was the word? Hold on. I will take that person down. The Senate President told me over the phone that based on the advice that the Dane of Agbo gave him, that he should leave Abuja in the wake of the protest so that he will not be caught and probably will not be approached or attacked by the youth. He said, Natasha, I have the capacity. I'm number 3 citizen. If anybody over the age of 20 dares to confront me, I will take that person down. That person should dare me with his life. I said, at that point, I started shouting. I now told my husband, he didn't know the phone was on speakerphone all the while because I'd woken my husband up from the first speaker. I was like, my love, can you hear what he's telling me? This is exactly what he does. At that point, when he knew, he was like, is your husband there? Oh, yeah. I said, yes, sir, my husband is here. And he heard everything. He then told me to pass the phone to my husband. And you know what he said? Immediately, he changed his tone. He was like, oh, Alema, I have a slot for you for an appointment from Delta State. Why don't you bring a nominee? And I took the phone back. I shouted at the Senate President. I said, you can't pacify us. You can't threaten me on one side and then pacify me. Sir, I'm aware, even though the conversations took place on via WhatsApp, I know that the DSS and the NSA's office, they have the tools to extract these phone calls. And I'm going to publish if, yes, sir. Okay, Senator Natasha, thank you. And he told me that, well, all you want, hold on, please. He then told me that, Oshay, all I want is an apology. He would apologize on the floor that morning and that he expects me to accept it. So all that morning, when I walked in, I was already threatened. I was already petrified. This is a man who had already called me at midnight, so I didn't sleep all night. I just had to say to his seamless apology. Senator Natasha Apoki, thank you so much for being here. He who alleges must prove. I'm sure you have all your proof because they are on the other side are also going to demand all of it, and you have to put it out there. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for honoring us today with your presence.